Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glen Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of Canadian Investing in the U.S. with Glen Sutherland. This week, my guest is Jon. I should have pronounced your name first. Ostenson? Okay, I'm going to do this again.
Yeah, you got it.
Welcome to a new episode of Canadian Investing in the U.S. with Glen Sutherland. This week, my guest is Jon Ostenson. Jon, if you want to start off by giving everybody a bit of an introduction to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. No, appreciate you having me, Glenn. And, like many out there, I've spent many years in the corporate world and then always had that desire to be a business owner, didn't know what it looked like. And it was about a decade ago that I really fell into franchising, that I realized, when you hear the F word franchise, that it really means much more than just fast food. And so about a decade ago, I stepped in as president of ShelfGenie franchise system, supporting franchisees all across North America, the US and Canada, and really fell in love with the model. And since then have invested in franchises myself on the franchisee side, started my consulting business about 7 years ago where I help others step into business ownership through what I call non-food franchising, all those other industries and opportunities that exist outside of food. And yeah, totally free to work with us, and love being able to help others identify the top opportunities in their markets.
Awesome. Love it. And if people are like, hey, Glen, you're mostly talking about real estate. Like, why are we talking about franchises? And I just want to put this in right off the start so people have a good grasp of it. There's a couple different reasons that we're talking about franchises. First one, if people are looking to move to the U.S. or even just get their E2 visa or an E1 visa to go, be able to live in the U.S. or even just run a business in the U.S., this is a very easy way to go through it. It's an easier step than even doing the real estate way. If you're looking to go to the U.S. The other thing is, even this has crossed my mind so much, is to find complementary businesses for the business you're running. For instance, in one of my markets, I have a heck of a time trying to find someone to put carpet in properties. And so you're like, you know what? You could just start your own, right? Be the supplier and the user of the product. If you're going to find by doing businesses, there's weaknesses. Maybe it's HVAC, maybe it's an electrical, maybe there's all kinds of businesses that you're probably going to tell us about. But sometimes finding a complementary business, it works so much better. You're going to find out what the weakness in that market is just by running a business in that market. So honestly, that's one of the real reasons I want to have Jon on here, because I'm always interested in getting businesses to complement the businesses I already have running.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And we've seen so many real estate investors moving into franchising. I personally invest in real estate directly and indirectly, so I can relate. But I think it starts with the mindset. The tax advantages that come through business ownership that also come through real estate, right? It's kind of that same approach. And many real estate investors say, hey, interest rates have been high, inventories have been low, there aren't too many deals that pencil out these days like they used to, right? So they're saying, what are other alternative income streams that we could tap into? And in a lot of cases, they're diversifying, but they're also finding complementary businesses. And so, I think of some that are directly complementary, like our real estate broker client of mine that also started a property management franchise, to complement that. I think about, we recently had some clients in Boise that had an in-home senior care business, and they found I introduced them to a business that provides mobility solutions, wheelchair ramps, stair lifts, retrofitting bathrooms and stuff in the home to complement that one. But yeah, the trades, things like home and property services, there's no bigger area that's been more popular in recent years. Everything from cabinets to flooring to insulation to roofing to pool cleaning, things that AI is not going to replace anytime soon.
Oh, no, I know. And even just mentioning some of those things, I think a lot of people don't realize the opportunities that exist in these. Not to go on a long rant, but my parents just needed to put a stair lift in to their property, and in Canada, they don't even make them in Canada. I got quotes from places, they're all getting shipped from Germany or Europe, and the markups that are caused in those I'm sure they're expensive, and you're like, how? There's nothing to them. But anyways, and if you're anyway, I'm not going to go into a rant, but anyway, tell us about franchising. There's a lot of opportunity here.
There is, and franchising is not right for everyone. I think some people are too entrepreneurial and want to put their thumbprint all over it, and they don't have the humility to follow a system, right? And so it's not right for everyone. But I think for most people, it's a better path to business ownership. It just allows you to get in the game. I've had several calls already this morning with one was a Harvard MBA. People that have been out there looking for an existing business sometimes for many years. And what I love about franchising is it lets you get in the game, build a platform. You can still buy an existing business down the road, but go ahead and get in and start building. And we just have so many case studies of clients that have built empires over time. And the benefits of a franchise, not every franchise is created equal, right? You've got strong players, you've got ones that don't provide great support. That's where we come in to try to help. But in franchising, you've got a coach on the sidelines, that franchisor supporting you. You've got a built-in mastermind of other franchisees living the same thing day in, day out. You're learning from each other. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself, to be cliche. But you're also able to source products, source services in bulk now, so you get better pricing. Obviously you get marketing data and analytics that, on a larger scale, so you don't have to repeat the same mistakes. So there's just a lot of benefits with a good franchise system that allow people to kind of get to third base and, home faster than trying to trial and error everything on their own.
You said something, but maybe I caught it wrong in that when you were talking there. You said you guys provide support on top of the franchising. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, I'm saying the franchise provides, support. They're providing training, they're providing marketing support, ongoing innovation, in coaching as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how does this look? Like, what does this look like? So is this like a website you go to and it has a whole list of things, or is it someone you talk to? How does this whole sort of system work?
If you start Googling out there, you're going to come across so much noise. Every company's putting their best marketing foot forward. And even if you see like a top 100 list, most of the companies are paying to be on that list. And so, we help clients cut through the noise. You can reach out to us at framebridgeconsulting.com. Again, entirely free to work with us. We simply get a referral fee from the brands. None of that's passed on to you. I'm affiliated with IFPG. It's the largest franchise brokerage in North America. We work with over 600 different franchise companies that are looking to expand, that still have good markets to expand into. And really proud of just the successes that we've had in playing matchmaker with our clients and then kind of holding their hand through the process of supporting them as they've analyzed different opportunities. So if you came to me, Glenn, and said, hey, I'm looking to start a business in Detroit, Michigan, based on our prior conversation of you having a Michigan license, I would say, hey, Glenn, based on what you've shared with me, based on what I'm seeing out there, here are the top 10 or so opportunities that are available in your market that I think could be a good fit. Here's a little bit about each one. You'd pick 3 or 4 to then have a conversation with. That kind of gets the ball moving, and then we can always iterate from there. But I would help you with the funding options. We have a franchise attorney review the agreement, kind of a one-stop shop for your whole exploration process as you identify which one could be the best fit for you.
Okay, awesome. And I think just to bring this back to real estate, but not about real estate, but I think a lot of people, especially Canadians, are looking to invest in U.S. franchises. I think part of it is the passiveness of having rental properties and having a property manager kind of manage that. Is there an opportunities or similar opportunities to that in franchises where it might have a less active role? Are you looking to invest in the U.S.? Are you looking for a coaching program that will actually save you money and help you avoid mistakes? My students get discounts on lawyers, attorneys. If you're looking to get an E2 visa, if you're looking for certain software, if you're looking to even speak with CPAs, I have discounts for all these things. If you want to just get on a quick phone call and we can discuss if it's a fit for you, 10-minute phone call, go to glensutherland.com or at CanadianInvestingInTheUSA.com and book a call.
Yeah, we get asked that a lot. So a lot of franchises will market themselves as semi-passive or semi-absentee, or some call it an executive model. The idea is that you put a manager in place to run the day-to-day operations so you don't have to. About half of our clients do go with that path. I like to call it semi-involved. I never want to sugarcoat it. And really, your degree of involvement is going to come down to who you put in place, who that operator is, that general manager, if you will. If you have a strong general manager, you can be incredibly hands-off. If you don't have a strong general manager, you're going to be leaning in until you do. But no, the beauty of the franchise model is it does lend itself to that more passive approach over time with a strong operator, because the franchisor is carrying a lot of the daily support water for you, supporting your operator. They're the go-to for a lot of the questions that take some of the burden off of you. Yeah,
and so if you're someone who's never ran a business before, you're not an active. You're going to probably have to hire a general manager. I'm assuming there'll be some support or something on doing that, because that honestly would even be one of my fears, that I'd, just would I hire the right person? And it is because it's going to be my baby, this company, and I need it to, be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they can definitely help you with that. I mean, ultimately, it's going to be your employee, but they can provide all the job descriptions and the intangibles like, hey, here's where others have found their best people. And that's where you have that mastermind of other franchisees. They can share with you, here's how we're compensating our people. Here's where we found them, here.
Yeah.
And so again, you're not having to trial everything on your own.
What kind of things are you finding that are like surprising to people, or some people that people may not know about franchises before they talk to you?
Yeah, end of the day, franchising, it's a massive industry, and we call it an industry, but it's composed of so many different sub-industries, right? And
Yeah.
so you can't, a lot of blanket statements just don't fit, right? End of the day, these are all businesses, operating across a variety of things, everything from, and I think this is one of the eye-opening things to people is just how many industries are out there that they never would have thought of. Probably 80 or 90% of our clients end up in a field, in an industry with a company that was never on their radar to begin with. So we talked about home and property services, but areas like health and wellness are huge. Categories like seniors, there are different ways to kind of play the whole macro dynamic of the senior space, kids, pets, B2B services. When we break these down and get into some of the details, people are like, oh, I never would have thought of that. And they look at their spouse, they're like, that makes a lot of sense. We have that need in our community. Let's take further steps in evaluating.
Yeah, and I know your book there is non-food franchising. Is there a reason that it's non-food and you're not including food in this franchising model?
Love the food guys. We need them. I've had a lot of clients that have done really well, McDonald's franchisees and such in the past. But what I found is when you say franchise, people think fast food. And
Yeah.
my personal belief is there are easier ways to make money. Opportunities oftentimes require less operating hours, fewer hourly employees, maybe less susceptible to consumer whims changing, less CapEx investment. They just check a lot of boxes, some of these other fields. And so I said, instead of trying to be everything to everybody, let's cut out half the market and go deep on these other industries that I do believe more strongly in. So, nothing against the food guys. We need them, but there are easier ways to make money, in my opinion.
Yeah. And this might be a loaded question, but what are you finding is like your favorite kind of franchise right now?
Yeah, I think some of these in the senior space, different ways to play that. Probably the hottest franchise of the year, if you were to say what's on trend, it's in the health and wellness. There's a longevity clinic where you've got some big names behind it, and I think that's becoming more and more mainstream. All the different modalities, hyperbaric chamber, peptide, sauna. So I think that's a really neat one. But I personally, where I place a lot of my bets is in the home services and property services space. You're just, in most cases there, you're up against less sophisticated competition. It's highly fragmented. You're able to bring a white collar approach to a blue collar industry in some cases. And so I just love that. Like, one of my businesses is asphalt paving and line striping. So think parking lots. I've got another one that provides temporary walls, like containment walls around renovation projects and construction sites. Got another one that's custom pull-out shelving through kitchens and pantries. And so, I've got good people in place running these, but that's just a sector that I've always resonated with, and a lot of our clients have too. Clients that don't have any background in that. We have physicians reaching out to us, and in the last month, I placed multiple dental practice owners in home services businesses. One got into a pool cleaning business, the other got into a handyman business that caters to the senior population. So I think when people come in with an open mind, and they say, I'm willing to be trained in a new industry, and I bring some transferable skill sets with me, even though I have no experience in that new industry. That's kind of where the magic happens.
And you just mentioned like no background in like those fields. Do you have people that just come in? Like, is this a common thing where like, hey, I'm open to whatever, so just give me the one with the highest ROI?
Highest ROI with the fewest number of employees. We get asked that all the time.
Because where my head goes, I'm like, that sounds like the perfect trifecta.
And some people say, hey, I want to be passionate about this. Everybody wants to serve their community, some to a different level. But others say, hey, if I go to the cocktail party, on Saturday night with my wife, and everyone knows me as the porta potty king, but I'm bringing in $2 million a year, I'm fine with that. Others say, hey, no, I don't want to go into that space. I don't want to do dumpsters. I want to do something that's a little more sexy.
No, yeah, that makes sense. But also, like, I've read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, and there's a lot of people that you don't realize what kind of returns there are in some of these fields, like porta potties or some of these trades, because you find that the trades that are more difficult or people are less interested to doing can make a lot more money because people are willing to, they're just not going to try and do it themselves.
Yeah, I joke that non-sexy businesses are the new sexy. Everyone wants those non-trendy, understandable cash flowing businesses. I mean, I've got, I think, 3 or 4 different Harvard MBA clients right now that they all want the non-sexy stuff. That's what they're looking for, and I think that's people love niches. We're not placing people with home cleaning or mosquitoes. Those are industries that already have big brands, very little differentiation. We like to find the niches that don't have a lot of competition, that aren't super sophisticated, where you can come in and really differentiate yourself.
Love that. Yeah, I love it. Okay, for people who are interested in this, they're like, hey, well, what's your company name? How do we find you? How do we look this up? And even like, is it a phone call we start with? Is it a website we start with? How does this flow? Like, you kind of go through the start of this.
Again, entirely free to work with us. So come out to our website, franbridgeconsulting.com. That's FRAN bridgeconsulting.com. Share your email address. There will be a pop-up form on the website. My assistant will then reach out to you with links to download our book, Non-Food Franchising, which I'd love to share with all of your listeners. And then she'll also share a link to my calendar. So if someone would like to take a next step and learn more, I'd be happy to jump on a call, get to know you a little bit, and then talk about whether this makes sense, and then we'll proceed in me presenting the top opportunities in your market on a follow-up. And entirely no obligation as we go through the process. You can back out anytime, but it's been neat to expose so many people to the types of businesses that are looking to expand in their area that oftentimes they never would have thought of.
Yeah, and do you find it like, because even you were mentioning Detroit, like because you knew I had a Michigan driver's license, if people are open to anywhere, like say they were a Canadian looking to go invest in the U.S., is that going to be more difficult for you or less difficult if they're like, hey, I'm open to anywhere?
As long as they're seriously open to anywhere. What I find is people say that, and then they say, well, actually, I really want to be in Coral Gables, Florida. If they're truly open, or they say, hey, here are the top 3 markets I'd like to get to. Yeah, the more that we can include, then it does open up the playbook to more opportunities. Because sometimes if you're too siloed into one market, which most people are, we're limited. We'll still have good options, but you just won't have this huge plethora. So no, if there is that geography freedom, that's helpful. But again, most people don't have that, right? Most are pigeonholed on one market. Not every franchise is open to E2. In fact, quite a few are not. A lot of the growth ones are not right now, but it's more of the legacy ones that have been around for a while that may be sold out in a lot of markets, but they're open to E2. So we may have to work around some other territories.
That would be something to bring up in the initial conversation, the E2. But that's interesting because really, it's not like you have to get sponsored or anything when you're doing it. You just like usually, whenever I went through the E2 visa process, I had to just build a business. Like I did mine for real estate, but I had to build a business plan for that, and then submit it to the attorney. Attorney had to like it, submit it to immigration, and go through that whole process. So, it's when you said that some might not be open to that. What part wouldn't they like?
Yeah, I think it's less open to it at their onset. So right now we're seeing an overwhelming amount of interest in growth, and so right now they're trying to keep their focus on, and they're like, hey, we don't need any added just steps or complications. And now that being said, Glenn, I think coming from Canada to the U.S. is a lot different E2 process than someone that's on the other side of the world, and even the discovery process is a lot different, right? And I've spent a lot of time in Canada throughout all the major cities, and a lot of franchises are looking to expand in Canada. If someone's looking to stay put, that's a great opportunity. Again, not every franchise is at the stage of their growth where they're saying, let's go north of the border, but quite a few are. I've got some great clients in Canada right now.
That's an interesting angle too. Awesome. Anyway, so if people are interested in this, reach out to John. You gave your website earlier, and book a call, get a copy of the book, and then schedule a call to get started on this. Is there anything lastly that people should know before we let you go?
I think we hit a lot. They're all in investment. They're different ranges, but there are different financing options certainly, and you can also roll over old retirement plans. There are a lot of ways to make it happen. So I encourage people to get off the couch, dip a toe in the water, and kind of see where it goes.
You know what? Right before we go, because you just brought up financing, and I should have talked about that. Do you like, because for doing real estate, we don't have problems. Well, we don't go to like Wells Fargo, wherever, to get our mortgages, but we have options to get mortgages as Canadians. As a Canadian doing this, there is financing options to go into these businesses?
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn there, Glenn. I won't claim to be an expert in that space.
That's fair. That's fair.
Within the U.S. citizens, there's a lot of options that are used. Within Canada, my understanding is there's a comparable program to what we call the SBA program here. I'm not an expert in that space.
Yeah, so it might be the hang up for, the people when they're saying, hey, I'm not open to the E2, that might be the problem. Is that the financing, it could be or it may not be, right? So it might be just, finding some other loan programs. And in all honesty, what I've found is when people think that there's no loan programs, it's because they just got quick and easy and they walked into a Bank of America and asked for a loan and they said no and they'd stop there. A lot of times there's options. There is people always looking to loan money. There's all kinds of different secondary lenders and even community banks that will do a lot of stuff. And then there's all kinds of government funded things. And, you may not be able to get the government funded things if you don't have a social security number. Maybe you can, who knows? But there tends to be options for all this. And I think a lot of people just stop way too soon and don't do their actual research on getting that going. So anyway, I wanted to let people know you probably could figure this out. And because honestly, I bet you I could do it in like 10 minutes on the internet, find some stuff. Anyway, John, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think it might have opened people's eyes a little bit into some different franchises, some different ideas. And I think some people will be reaching out. I think I'll probably reach out even just to look at some complementary businesses in the different markets that I'm working in and see if there's something to match up with what I'm already doing.
Sounds great. No, appreciate you having me. And yeah, certainly happy to help.
Thanks so much.
That was a nice video. Bye.